Jabari Parker has always had an immense amount of talent. As he came through the high school ranks, he was always neck and neck with Andrew Wiggins, for who people had pegged as their #1 prospect. But since getting to the NBA, Jabari has struggled with getting a consistent run on the court, mainly due to his 2 horrific ACL injuries. But he's finally back on the court for the Milwaukee Bucks and is being eased back into playing basketball by coming off the bench. And I have to say, Parker has looked fantastic in this role, and I'm beginning to grow confident that he will be able to return to his best form in years to come. There are 2 big questions to answer when it comes to the return of Jabari Parker. Can he make an impact for the Bucks in the playoffs and help lift Milwaukee to the standard of the Celtics, Raptors, and Cavaliers? And just how much is he going to be worth in free agency this offseason? The Bucks will be pondering these questions, and so will I in this video, as well as covering the background history of Jabari Parker and his time so far in the NBA. Jabari Parker was born into the south side of Chicago and would spend his entire life growing up in this region of the Windy City. His father, Sonny Parker, was the director of a youth foundation and helped run many different sports leagues to help keep kids off the street and give them something to do whilst educating them. It was in one of these leagues that Jabari would discover basketball and his absolute love for it. And once he and his brother Christian began playing, it seemed as though nothing could keep them off the court. Jabari also credits his cousin Jay, who was 2 years older, for pushing him to become better and better, and the 2 of them could frequently be found playing at their church court until the late hours of the night. This development and his height saw Jabari playing in leagues far above his age. In fact, in the 4th grade, he managed to make his 8th grade team, but wasn't allowed to play for insurance purposes. Eventually, Parker would go on to play high school basketball at Samoan Academy, where he would have one of the most decorated and entertaining careers in the history of the school. He broke the school record for most points in a game when he dropped 40 points in just 21 minutes and would graduate the school as the 4th ranked player in the country, behind Wiggins, Randall, and Aaron Gordon. Parker had offers from Division I schools since he was in the 5th grade, but he would eventually commit to playing for Coach K for the Duke program for a single season of college basketball. Here, he would average 19.1 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 1 block, steal, and assist per game on solid shooting splits. And despite losing in the first round of the NCAA tournament, he was still considered a top pick in the upcoming NBA draft. Cleveland would take Andrew Wiggins with the first pick in the 2014 NBA draft, and the Milwaukee Bucks would immediately snap up Jabari Parker with the 2nd pick. It all made so much sense. Milwaukee was close to his home in Chicago, and the Bucks were in desperate need of a star, and someone who could grow in tandem with their promising rookie, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Parker's rookie season would start slowly, and then he would turn it up in November, as he scored a career-high 23 points in an overtime win against the Brooklyn Nets. But disaster would strike just 25 games into the season, as Parker tore his ACL for the first time in a game against the Phoenix Suns. His injury extended into the very beginning of the 2015-2016 NBA season, and he missed the first 4 games before returning to the lineup. Jabari played limited minutes to begin, but would only be rested for 1 back-to-back before being cleared for full play. It would take him some time to find his groove again in the NBA, as is to be expected after returning from such a huge injury. But in late February, he began to find form and posted a career-high 28 points and 13 rebounds in a win against the Atlanta Hawks, before following it up just 10 days later with an incredible 36 points in a win over the Houston Rockets. Jabari was back, and the Milwaukee Bucks fans began to expect big things from their young forward in the years to come. And he would deliver in his 3rd season, as he averaged 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists a game while shooting 49% from the field and 36.5% from three-point land. But then, just before the All-Star break, a tragedy would strike once again, and Jabari would tear his ACL in the same knee again. I can't even imagine the devastation for Jabari, knowing that he would have to go through the same rehab process that he had already been through before. But Parker is a man of faith, and had full belief that he would be able to get through this and return to the court to do what he was born to do, play ball. And that day has come in the last few weeks. Jabari made his return to the court against the New York Knicks on the 2nd of February and looked great in his minutes off of the bench, and he's continued to impress me in every single game he has played off the bench since. He definitely looks a bit rusty, but that is to be expected, especially when coming off your 2nd ACL injury in the same knee. He also has a little bit extra body fat than most NBA players, which is likely due to not playing games and extensive time rehabbing instead of doing cardio. As he plays his way into better shape and loses the rust, I only expect him to get even better as a player. But for a guy who has had 2 ACL injuries and not seen a basketball game for almost a year, Parker has seriously impressed. He has been using his size, strength and quickness to get to the rim and is finishing well underneath. But what has really impressed me down low is how good his second jump and effort is. Parker was always a force after he missed a layup down low, as he would find fantastic rebounding position and used his expert timing and strength to create second chance opportunities. And off the dribble, Parker has been much better than I expected as well. Usually guys struggle with this after knee injuries for a while, but Jabari has looked confident and quick, and this is key to his game returning to where he was before the injuries. At 6'8", Parker is stronger and faster than most guys his size, and in a similar fashion to LeBron, this is what gives him his edge on the court. So seeing him blow by guys confidently on his knee is very encouraging that he will return to being a 20+ point per game scorer. He hasn't looked as good in transition, but I imagine this will come in the latter stages of March and April as he becomes more comfortable on the basketball court. And when he does, look out. Parker was an absolute force in transition before his injuries and is the perfect forward to run alongside Giannis. With Bledsoe, Giannis and Jabari all running the fast break, the Bucks could become a deadly defense to offense style of team. Parker also has a nice outside stroke and has been shooting decently from the mid-range in his very limited minutes. But if he is truly to become Milwaukee's secret playoff weapon, he will need to recapture his three-point shooting. Jabari is only a 33.6% three-point shooter, and he is 1 of 6 to start his comeback this season. Hopefully he can get back to shooting a 30+% from deep, so that the Bucks can continue to surround Giannis with good three-point shooters. If he can do this, I think that Jabari will end up starting again very quickly, and that the Bucks will play him around 30 minutes a game in the end of the season. This would allow him to start and finish alongside Giannis, but also to continue to play with the bench, as I think the role of him leading the bench mob suits him and allows him to get more shots up. This makes the Bucks a lot more interesting to me in terms of the playoffs. They'll potentially be able to close games with Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Jabari, and then either Thon Maker or John Henson. These lineups are incredibly quick and athletic, can shoot threes, and everyone is a solid to great defender. I imagine their height and length will give teams like Boston trouble, and their defense could pose problems for both the Cavaliers and the Raptors. In my mind, the Bucks have really become a playoff wildcard, especially since the firing of Jason Kidd and the return of Parker. Firing Kidd has meant that defense and offense has significantly improved purely by changing the schemes. In their first 10 games since the firing, they went 8-2, a huge improvement over their record just before the dismissal. But the Bucks are in a bit of an awkward position when it comes to re-signing Jabari Parker this offseason. They already have $105 million in committed salary for next year and have $66 million committed for the year after, with both Bledsoe and Middleton becoming free agents that year. The contracts given to Tony Snell and Dellavedova, as well as John Henson, have really begun to cost the Bucks. Parker will be a restricted free agent, and the Bucks will be hoping that they can sign him to a team-friendly deal in the range of $10 to $15 million in an attempt to keep their books under control. But if Parker shows that he could still fulfill his potential as the number 2 pick, I think he is the kind of player that the Lakers or the Brooklyn Nets might make a big $20 million plus offer for in an attempt to steal him. The size of the offer that Parker receives will largely be dependent on how well he plays, but it could be the perfect opportunity to steal a very good young player from the Bucks. If a team does sign him and he stays healthy and continues to develop, that team could have gotten an all-star without trading or drafting him. And this is one of the quickest ways to improve your team. But the Bucks will likely match any offer. They just can't afford to let the talent level of Parker walk, as with their limited cap space and bad contracts, there is almost no way to replace him through trades or free agency. So I fully expect Milwaukee to keep him unless he is terrible the rest of the season and then someone pays him. But regardless of his contract situation, I am just stoked to see him back on the court, healthy and playing the game he loves, and fully expect him to continue to wind into form and maybe pack a surprise or two for some unfortunate team in the playoffs. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA videos every Thursday and Sunday, and leave a comment below of what you think of Jabari Parker and the Milwaukee Bucks.